As you see people celebrate Luigi Mangione is a byproduct of all of that. And so if we want to do something, then we should talk about Section 230. We should talk about how we're going to make sure that we don't let foreign governments poison our children's mind. And so I will work with you on that, Director.
I'll work with you on 230 any day.
No problem.
3 minutes ago, Jared Moskowitz did something almost no one in Washington ever dares to do. He didn't warm up the room. He didn't soften his tone with polite, diplomatic phrasing, and he definitely didn't fall back on the usual scripted theatrics that so often pass for accountability on Capitol Hill. Instead, he reached straight for that deep crimson folder, slid out a single sheet stamped with an unmistakable signature, lifted it high enough for every camera to catch, and delivered 5 quiet words that instantly wiped the color from Kash Patel's face. Director Patel, is this real? And if you're watching this right now, don't even think about clicking away because what unfolded over the next 11 minutes is the kind of moment people will still be dissecting years from now. The second Patel's eyes locked onto that signature, the entire atmosphere shifted. You could feel it. The air tightened, whispers died, chairs stopped moving. Before we go any further, make sure you subscribe and tap the bell because this isn't where the story peaks. It's where it starts. What follows doesn't just rattle a few offices, it sends shockwaves straight through Washington's core. Picture it clearly. Senate Judiciary Committee Oversight Hearing, Thursday afternoon, 2:47 p.m. Eastern. The sort of routine, slow-burn session that usually blends into the background noise of C-SPAN and has half the audience fighting to stay awake. Budget allocations, personnel evaluations, procedural briefings, the slow mechanical churn of government business moving exactly as it always does, the kind of dry paint-by-numbers agenda that drains the energy out of a room and turns even the most dedicated viewers into background noise. Patel stepped in, brimming with confidence. You know the type of entrance, shoulders back, posture locked in, a perfectly tailored navy suit, and the calm, practiced expression of someone who's weathered 100 hostile hearings and fully expects to breeze through 100 more. 3 attorneys formed a quiet wall at his sides. 2 senior aides settled in just behind him. The binder was there, neatly tabbed. The talking points were memorized. Every carefully crafted non-answer was loaded and ready, like lines from a script he'd performed countless times before. What he didn't have, what he couldn't prepare for, was Moskowitz. The first 90 minutes played out exactly the way anyone who's ever watched a committee hearing would predict. Republicans tossed gentle, predictable questions about field office staffing and resource gaps. Democrats circled back to January 6th and ongoing investigations. Nothing sharp enough to cut, nothing unexpected enough to rattle anyone. Just the usual back and forth. Patel delivered his standard routine, polite, measured, carefully evasive. The kind of answers that sound substantial while quietly saying nothing at all. He ran out the clock without ever looking like he was stalling. A masterclass in controlled deflection. Twice he glanced at his watch. He straightened his papers with deliberate care. Took small, calculated sips of water. If anything, he looked bored, like this was just another checkbox on a long list of obligations. Then it was Moskowitz's turn. "Director Patel," he said, his tone easy, almost conversational. "I want to talk about transparency." Patel gave a slight nod, the confident kind, the nod of someone convinced they already see the punchline coming. "Of course, Congressman," he began smoothly, "the FBI is committed to operating with the utmost transparency within the bounds of—" "That's great," Moskowitz cut in, a faint smile spreading across his face. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was the kind of smile a seasoned prosecutor flashes right before dismantling a witness on the stand. Calm, controlled, almost polite, which somehow makes it worse. "Because I have some documents here," he said evenly, "that I think the American people deserve to see." Then he reached down and pulled out a folder. Red, thick, easily 40 pages, maybe more. Stuffed and heavy, edges worn, tagged with yellow sticky notes poking out at every angle. The kind of folder that silently announces, "I came prepared." The kind that says, "I've done the homework, and you're about to fail the exam." Patel's face didn't shift, not at first, but watch his hands in the footage. Pause it at the 147 mark. His fingers curl tighter around the edge of the table. Just a fraction, barely noticeable, but enough. The first crack in the armor. "Congressman," he started carefully, voice measured, "I am happy to discuss any materials that have been properly cleared for—" "These are cleared," Moskowitz shot back, cutting him off mid-sentence. "Declassified as of 11 p.m. last night. Public domain. Which means I can read them out loud, right here, right now." He paused just long enough for it to land. "And there's not a damn thing you can do to stop me. Even through a screen, you could feel it. That sudden electric charge in the air when a routine hearing turns into something else entirely. The kind of tension that makes every whisper die and every head snap up at once. The moment everyone realizes they're about to witness something they'll talk about later." Senator Graham stopped scrolling on his phone. Senator Durbin leaned forward in his chair. Even the C-SPAN camera operator zoomed in, which almost never happens during these sleepy committee sessions. They all knew. Moskowitz opened the folder. "These are FBI documents tied to the Jeffrey Epstein investigation," he began, voice steady. "Specifically, records detailing individuals who visited Epstein's properties, traveled on his aircraft, and are referenced in witness testimony." He didn't look down at the papers when he said it. He looked straight at Patel. "You're familiar with these files, correct?" Patel's jaw tightened just a touch, subtle but unmistakable. "Congressman, the FBI maintains extensive records related to numerous investigations," he replied, slipping back into that careful, bureaucratic tone. "Without seeing the specific—" "I'm about to show you the specific," Moskowitz cut in. He slid the first page out of the stack. "This is a visitor log from Epstein's Palm Beach residence. Date, March 14th, 2003. The paper rustled in the microphone as he lifted it. Then he started reading the names. The first three meant nothing to me. Strangers, background noise. The fourth was a hedge fund manager who'd already been publicly linked to Epstein, not exactly breaking news. So far, nothing explosive. Nothing that justified the sudden tension in the room. Then Moskowitz read the fifth name. The room went silent, not the polite, attentive kind of silence you get when someone's presenting facts, the heavy, suffocating kind, the kind where no one shifts in their seat, no one coughs, no one even seems to breathe. "Director Patel," Moskowitz continued, and now there was an edge to his voice, the friendliness gone, replaced with something sharper. "This name shows up 17 times in these logs over a 6-month span, 17 documented visits." He let the number hang there. "And yet, when Congress requested these same documents 2 years ago, they were labeled too sensitive to release." He lifted the page higher, holding it up like evidence in a courtroom. "Why?" Patel reached for his water glass. His hand didn't shake. Credit where it's due, it was steady, practiced, controlled. But there was a split second before he spoke, a tiny pause, barely noticeable. And in that fraction of silence, you could tell everything. "Congressman, classification decisions involve complex considerations regarding privacy, ongoing investigations, and—" "There is no ongoing investigation," Moskowitz snapped. The words cracked through the room like a gavel strike. "Epstein is dead. Maxwell is in prison. This isn't about protecting an investigation." He leaned forward, eyes locked on Patel. "This is about protecting powerful people." A few murmurs rippled through the chamber, then vanished just as quickly. Nobody wanted to miss what came next, and that's when Moskowitz shifted gears. From aggressive to surgical, he didn't raise his voice, didn't grandstand. Somehow that made it worse. He reached back into the folder and pulled out another document. This one looked different immediately. Larger, thicker stock. Official letterhead stamped across the top. The kind of paper that carries weight before you even read a word. He held it up carefully. "This," Moskowitz said slowly, "is a flight manifest from Epstein's private jet. The Lolita Express," he added quietly, using the name everyone knew but few people liked to say out loud. Date, July 22nd, 2000. Then he stopped. He didn't rush it. He let the date sit there, heavy in the air, like it meant something. Like everyone in that room should already understand why it mattered. "The passenger list includes 4 names," he continued. 3 of them have been public for years." Another pause. Longer this time. The kind of pause that twists your stomach because you can feel what's coming before it's said. The fourth name, he said, was redacted in every previous release of this document. Paper rustled as he lifted it higher. Redacted under your authority, Director Patel. Redacted 3 months after you took office. Patel opened his mouth to respond, but Moskowitz didn't even look at him. He simply raised a hand. I am not finished. The room froze again. This same redacted name appears on 12 separate flight manifests, he went on. 12 flights, destinations including Palm Beach, New York, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. He turned and looked straight at Patel. The camera caught Patel's face perfectly. No awkward angle, no obstruction, just a clear, unforgiving close-up. And you could almost see the gears turning behind his eyes. Deny, deflect. Question the process. Blame the late-night declassification review. Anything but answer. Remove those redactions, Moskowitz said calmly, almost matter-of-factly, like he was giving a routine instruction instead of detonating a political bomb. Then he kept going. So now, for the first time, the American public gets to see exactly who was on those flights. He lifted the document and angled it toward the cameras. Even through C-SPAN's grainy standard definition feed, you could make out the details, the letterhead, the type names, the unmistakable signature at the bottom. Clear enough that there was no pretending it was fake. And just like that, the internet lit up, Twitter, X, whatever it's called now. The name started trending in under 90 seconds. Posts multiplying by the thousands, screenshots flying everywhere, group chats blowing up, everyone scrambling to confirm what they were seeing. Moskowitz didn't even have to say the name out loud. He didn't need to. The document did the talking for him. You didn't need commentary. You didn't need spin. The paper alone was enough. Patel's attorney leaned in fast, whispering something urgent into his ear. The kind of whisper that isn't advice. It's damage control. Patel gave the slightest shake of his head, like he didn't want to look rattled, like he could still handle this himself. Congressman, he began again. His voice had changed. Quieter now, more cautious, every word measured. Flight manifests from more than 20 years ago without additional context don't necessarily indicate... Context? Moskowitz cut in. His voice rose, not quite shouting, but close enough that it snapped every head back toward him. Let me give you context. He reached into the folder again and pulled out another page. This is witness testimony from a woman who worked at Epstein's Manhattan residence from 1999 to 2002, he said, holding it up. Her statement, given to the FBI in 2009, describes multiple occasions where she saw the same individual at Epstein's property. The room didn't move. Everyone knew exactly where this was headed. He lowered his eyes to the page and began to read. He was there at least 5 or 6 times that I personally saw. Always in the evening, always with Jeffrey. They seemed like old friends. The words echoed harder than anyone expected. And then it happened. The sound you only hear in movies. Gasps, real ones. Sharp, involuntary. 50 people reacting at the exact same time as the implication hit them all together. The kind of collective breath you don't plan, you just feel. Because suddenly everyone understood they weren't watching another dull oversight hearing anymore. They were watching a moment that would be replayed for years. Director Patel, Moskowitz said, setting the paper down with deliberate care. This witness testimony has been sitting in FBI files for 16 years. 16 years. He let the number hang there like an accusation. Why was it classified, Senator? I mean, Congressman, Patel said quickly, catching himself mid-word. Too late. That tiny slip, that flash of rattled nerves, was blood in the water. And everyone in the room smelled it. The FBI doesn't make classification decisions to protect individuals, Patel said, clinging to the script. Our protocols are designed to safeguard sensitive information, and your protocols protected this specific individual, Moskowitz cut in sharply, and we both know why. The words didn't echo. They landed. Heavy, direct. No wiggle room left. And right here, pause for a second.